We're going to look at the anatomy of the alveoli. In the respiratory tract, the function of the respiratory zone is to do gas exchange. So we're going to be doing gas exchange in the respiratory bronchioles and in the alveoli. So we're going to be way down at the end of the lungs here in the respiratory bronchioles and the alveoli. That's where we'll do gas exchange. And this is just a close-up. The individual little grapes, those are called alveoli. And then a cluster of alveoli is called an alveolar sac. This is a cross-sectional view showing the respiratory bronchioles coming down into all of these alveoli. And here's an electron microscope view. You can see all of these alveoli here. There's lots of them to do gas exchange. This table just shows you that the alveolar sacs have the smallest diameter. There's also no cartilage or smooth muscle around the alveoli, and that's good because you need the tissue to be very thin there so you can do gas exchange. And the other thing to notice is that there's no ciliated cells or goblet cells secreting mucus in the alveoli, so the mucus elevator does not extend down to the alveoli. The alveoli are where we're going to do most of the gas exchange, and star this in your notes. This is really important for the exam. The reason that the alveoli are really good at doing gas exchange is for two reasons. One is they have very thin walls, so it doesn't take much for the oxygen and carbon dioxide to diffuse across. And the second reason is that they have a very large surface area. If you were to take all of the alveoli in the lungs and flatten them out, they would have the same surface area as a tennis court. So that is huge. You can do lots of gas exchange there and with basically a tennis court shoved inside your chest. And then there's also a really good blood supply as well. This picture just shows the blood supply to the lungs, so you can see it's quite extensive. And just a reminder that the pulmonary circuit is what's going to be bringing blood to and from the lungs. So the pulmonary artery coming from the right side of the heart carrying the deoxygenated blood will enter into the capillaries surrounding the alveolar sac, and we'll do gas exchange there. And then the oxygenated blood will return to the left side of the heart through the pulmonary vein and then get pumped out to the rest of the body in the systemic circuit. And this is a microscope view just showing you these capillary beds surrounding the alveoli. There are alveolar pores inside the alveoli as well, and that allows the air to have kind of a back door. So there's different ways that the air can flow in and out of the alveoli, and that just helps equilibrate the air pressure inside the lungs. The alveolar wall is really thin, and there's 3 cell types that are in the alveoli. So let's take a look at a picture to show you these cell types. Type 1 alveolar cells are epithelial cells that make up the wall of the alveolus. The type 2 alveolar cells here in green, they're important because they secrete surfactant. And surfactant is going to decrease the surface tension inside the alveoli and make it easier to breathe in and out. And then the last cell type are the alveolar macrophages. Remember, macrophages are a type of white blood cell that go around and phagocytize things. So any pathogens or dirt that did not get taken out by the rest of the conducting zone and made it down to the alveoli will be eaten by the alveolar macrophages because there's no mucus elevator that reaches down to the alveoli. The respiratory membrane is very thin. It's only 2 cell layers thick, just made up of the alveolar wall and the capillary wall, and it's going to separate the air from the blood. And this is where our gas exchange is going to occur. across the respiratory membrane by diffusion. And the reason, again, that alveoli are very good at doing gas exchange is they are very thin-walled and they have a very large surface area. Here's a picture of the respiratory membrane. So you can see that it's very thin. It just consists of the alveolar wall and the capillary wall. And so the carbon dioxide and oxygen just has to diffuse across that very thin membrane to go from the air to the blood or vice versa.